December 6th meeting of the Orange County 2021 Advisory Committee for Redistricting. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is to my right, your left, if you'll join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do our roll call. Co-Chair Perez. Co-Chair Evans is here. Mr. Gary Jones. Not yet. Member Connor King. Member Hoover. Member Kilsharmer. Member Mellon. Member Arias. Member Callan. Member Alfont. Member Rocha.
Presente.
Member Hodge. Member Simrod.
Present.
Member Whittington.
Here.
Member Hardage. Okay. I see Commissioner Wilson is present. I don't think I see any other electeds. Commissioner Wilson, would you like to? Sure.
Thank you so much. I just want to, first of all, tell you I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I am very thankful for you all and for all the residents that come out, and of course our hardworking staff that sets this up. We are sort of in the final stretch here, if you will, and I just wanted to make a couple points that dawned on me after the last meeting and a quick clarification. When some of these maps were discussed as far as looking at the incumbent or the sitting commissioner's residence, I know, but constitutionally can't cut out that sitting commissioner. But some of the maps literally subdivide my neighborhood, which I know that that is probably legal and you know, maybe an inevitability at some point. But if there is a way, I just want to make it sort of a plea, understanding that those are my neighbors, those were my friends, my children's schools. And so, you know, having conversations with people out in the community, there was some concern about how literally comes right up to my back door in some of those. The other one is that some of the proposed maps, the standard deviation, of course, in District 1 is way over. I get it. It's going to be painful. There's going to be, it's going to look different at the end. But the least dramatic of those swings to go from the, you know, almost 13 over to some of the negative under is it's asking a lot of people out there who cast a vote not even a year and a half ago to give up that vote. And so, you know, eating away at the sides I know is the goal. And so just looking at those standard deviations for that largest number of residents and how that's going to impact them in the end. And then the last one I wanted to make was I know that Board Member Hodge discussed Williamsburg and the iDrive CRA, and I just wanted to make a quick point about that. There's been historically a CRA over International Drive that's allowed a lot of reinvestment in that area, and there's very few residents that fall into that CRA. Tangelo Park is one of those. And one of the things that became abundantly clear to me when I was running for office is that Williamsburg could really use that type of redevelopment, that their infrastructure has really been overlooked, and there's some crumbling infrastructure issues, and they've been waiting on a single intersection, I think, through the last 3 commissioners. And so my question had been to staff again and again and again when we talk about the CRA, why aren't we drawing Williamsburg in? It goes right along that line geographically. It would be a tremendous benefit to what has become some workforce housing in that corridor, and typically those were just a split in commission, and they were literally over the fence missing out on that. So to think of that as something that could be an option as far as them being within the district that CRA is overlying, it may be a benefit. So I appreciated that coming up in that map, and kind of just wanted to clarify where that line was currently. But, you know, it's up to the Board of County Commissioners how it looks in the future. Thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson.
At this time, we will move into the public comment portion of our meeting. We have received 3 public comment cards thus far. We have not received any electronic public comments, so there are none to add to the record. If you would like to address the committee tonight, we need you to complete a public comment card at the table outside, and I will begin calling those that I have. For those that are present, I'm sorry, when you approach, you'll have 3 minutes. First, we have Mr. Todd Catella. If you would approach, you have 3 minutes. Please confirm your name and your address.
It's Todd Catella, 162 Mercado, Orlando 32807. I'm going to say once again that in the planning maps that we have here, we really need to consider the future growth and what that is. I understand as of the last meeting, my commissioner mentioned to me afterwards that there was even another approved development project that was put on the maps. I'd like to see the updated approved projects added to the legal memos so that we can see what's really on the board now, so we can see where this additional development is going to be. And these are plan zones that will be online within 2 years, 2.5 years. As you know, Orlando and Central Florida and Orange County is growing in leaps and bounds. And because of that, we need to consider this 10-year map to be something that is looking beyond just this next election. It needs to be looking much broader. The District 1 and District 4 baselines, if they're not negative, I'm not interested in supporting them. And because it's going to be out of whack within 2 to 3 years for those two. So you got to start negative in those two specifically. You only have 22 on the planned development for 2000 for District 5, but those 1 and 4 are concerning. You might have growth in some other municipal areas like Apopka or whatever, but those are not county commissioner type things. Those are managed by and taken care of by the municipality. And it's the unincorporated areas, the roads and things like that, that have to be considered for the commissioner and nothing else. So when you look at how a commissioner is fairly represented across the board in these different districts, it's the unincorporated areas that they're responsible for and directly in contact with, other than a few, road planning and mosquitoes and animal control and different things like that. Municipalities take a bulk of those things out of the picture for a commissioner. So if you have a commissioner with a large unincorporated area and another commissioner that maybe has, in theory, a similar population, but they have a large municipality covering that area, they don't have the same workload. And as far as direct contact, they may have a resident call out to them, and but they just redirect it to the municipal person that's responsible for it. So please consider that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Catella. Next, I have a comment card from Ms. Cynthia Harris. Thank you, Ms. Harris. If you'll confirm your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Cynthia Harris, 12 Shannon Avenue, Orlando, 32811. I come back before you again today to remind you of District 6. We can't afford to wait 10 years for a possibility of growth. We have 6 housing units that are public housing that are scheduled for demolition, and the city has not rescinded on their permit for demolition. So that means we lose growth within the next 5 years. By 2027, we will not have as many residents as we've had before, because 5 of them are located in District 6. But also I want to point out what I've said in previous meetings about inmate population. Someone said that the county jail, which is located in District 6, is for misdemeanors. That's not true, because you have repeat offenders and you have people from other counties who are awaiting time to go for sentencing or see a judge so that they can get out of jail. These are temporary residents that don't reside in District 6. As well as in District 4, you have the Central Florida Reception Center. That's a transitional unit where the guests are there from, once they get sentenced to a day and a year or more, they're there for a short period of time before they go to their permanent camps. So again, you lose population and growth when you count those in the numbers, because those are not our voting residents. And you could spend 5 years in Orange County Jail before you even see a sentence. So I want you to keep that in mind when you are looking at your maps, that District 6 does not have, we cannot afford to wait 10 years to see what the numbers are going to be in the census, because we already know that our numbers are already declining. I thank you for your time and your effort on this board. I thank you for those who have submitted maps. I know I'm not going to agree with all of them, because there are a lot of them I don't agree with. However, at the end of the day, I want us to be able to work together so that we can come to some type of compromise and decide which fit is for us. Because right now, what I see is splitting up of communities and neighborhoods, and it's the same thing with the school board. What affects one affects all. And if we're not considering what the school board is going to do in the future, what our jail population is always going to look like, what our prison population is always going to look like, and what our housing population is going to look like. There is no such thing as affordable housing. If there was, there wouldn't be so many people that are homeless on the streets, and they're not counted. Next month, there will be a thing called Point in Time, where they do count the homeless, and it's double dipping. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Our next and final remaining public comment card is from Aaron Huntley. If anyone else wanted to speak, you would need to get that comment card completed and submitted. Ms. Huntley, if you will confirm your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Aaron Huntley, 10920 Ledgement Lane, Windermere. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity. I would like to just speak about somewhat what Todd was speaking about looking at the projected growth in the plans that I looked over on your website, which I find all of the information there very helpful. So I appreciate whoever puts all that effort. I know it takes a lot of work to do all of that. But I looked there, and I live in District 1 with a projected growth of 8,400 over the next period. In District 4, I looked with another over 10,000 units. And I live in District 1 and feel the change over the past few years. I've lived in that residence for 11 years. So knowing what that means, I would just really encourage this board to look at what that continued growth would look like. I lived there before Horizons WIS. I'm living in that area and would really like to see this group look at the projected areas where we have these two very massive growth opportunities in our county. And I would just like you to take that in consideration. But thank you all for your work. I appreciate you. I haven't met any of you. This is my first time coming to this, but I appreciate your work. And like the last speaker said, I hope we can all work together to find a nice compromise that works for our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huntley. At this time, having not received any additional requests for public comment, we will conclude our the public comment portion of our meeting. Madam Clerk will note that Mr. Hoover has arrived. A few things before we jump into the next minute approval. I want to make 2 co-chair comments. For each map proposed during the course of this process, our procedures require that a specific form that's found on the redistricting website be submitted along with that map. There are some outstanding forms, committee members. If you have submitted a map and it did not include your submission did not include the form, we do require that as it needs to be, each record needs to be complete for every submission, even if that map was withdrawn. So we want to make sure that is provided to the team. If you have any questions, I'm sure Jason and Co. can help make sure that we're clear on any gaps in that information being provided. Another thing is we will have at our meeting on December 9th, thank you, sir. At our meeting on December 9th, we will have our winnowing process. I encourage you all members to, again, review the procedures we set forward in that in those materials that are also available on the website. And that is it from co-chair comments, unless Mr. Perez has some additional. Okay, co-chair Perez says nothing for now. Having said that, I did receive one more public comment card, so we will reopen public comment to accommodate Mr. I believe that's James Callahan. If you will approach, you confirm your name, your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is James or Jim Callahan. I live 2 blocks from, it's from my old draft. We're meeting a different location. I live at the Grand Downtown Condominium 204 East South Street, Unit 3052. I live in a downtown condominium complex behind the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center, about 2 blocks east of City Hall and about 2 blocks south of the Orange County Administration Building. And so what is the sense of community when you live in a 6-story building in the downtown district? Quite frankly, there wasn't much sense of community until 2016. Yes, we identified with the parades and the events at Lake Eola, but we didn't identify that much with each other. The aftermath of the Pulse nightclub shooting changed everything. Before the Pulse nightclub shooting, my mother died in March 2016, just before the presidential primary. My mother, who was a former president of League of Women Voters, never got a chance to vote for Hillary Clinton. My father died less than a month later. I felt I mourned alone in April and May, while the rest of the city of Orlando continued with its hustle and bustle. Everything changed in the days after the June 12th Pulse nightclub shooting. Sometimes it takes a tragedy to galvanize a community. Suddenly, the city of Orlando was thrown into very public grief. The community's response was remarkable. Unlike Pearl Harbor, 9/11, or a Southern lynching, the response was not hate or vengeance, but love. A garden of small signs expressing love began popping up along South Street and at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. In my grief, I was thankful for the love expressed by the community. June 12th and most Saturday nights were Latin night at the Pulse nightclub, and more than 2/3 of the dead were gay men with Spanish surnames. That captures in a microcosm the intersectionality of District 3. That doesn't mean that the district is all gay any more than it is all Latin. Diversity is the key. One of the rivals for the District 3 seat was Eric Rollins, an environmentalist and gay activist. So in terms of this process, of the existing plans, I like 18 and 19 the best because they extend the northern boundary to Colonial Drive. But I recommend the following be included in District 3. Going north to include the LGBT Plus Center at 948 North Mills. Number 2, including the Pulse nightclub shooting at location itself at 1912 South Orange Avenue, including the Milk District near Lee Dairy on Bumby, because milk. Thank you. Those are the public locations where a new community was forged.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Callahan. That concludes our public comment for real for tonight. And we will move forward with the approval of the November 15th minutes. We have a motion by Member Hodge. Second by Member Affont. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the November 15th minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries. There are no maps on the information agenda because we have already passed our deadline for submitting maps. My co-chair asked me to remember to thank each of you committee members for your timely submission of the maps. I think that there's a core number available for us to consider. We appreciate you all doing the work to get that in timely, as well as the staff's work on getting the analysis prepared for today's meeting as well. So thank you all. The first thing on our discussion agenda is Proposal 15. At our last meeting, Proposal 15 was noted as going to be withdrawn by Member Connor King. However, the notes in the meeting expect that this Proposal 15 would be reviewed as amended at this meeting, and that's not the case. So we wanted to have an official record of withdrawing that. And Member King, do you have a?
I move that we that Plan 15 be withdrawn.
Second.
We have a motion by Member Connor King and a second by Co-Chair Perez. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. One other thing before we get into the balance of our maps for the evening. The microphones that are before you, committee members, are a little bit different than prior nights. We ask that you be mindful to only turn your microphone on after the co-chairs have acknowledged you, and then turn it off immediately. If we have too many mics live, people will not be able to speak. So just be mindful. And then your cue remotes work the same as previously. One push of 1A, just one push. We'll get you on the board. All right, thank you. Having said that, it's time to jump up. I guess we'll move map 16. Is Commissioner Hardage having someone else prepared? No? Okay, we'll move it to the end. Proposal 17, Member Hoover, you'll have 5 minutes to present.
Good evening. Zach Hoover, representing the 1st District of Orange County. You guys might remember a few weeks ago when we were having a meeting in District 3, I was up here talking about a map that we voted against unanimously. You may not remember that just before that I had another map that I withdrew that sought to not make many changes to the current maps. But I prepared it early on in this process before we had heard from some people who live in the Pine Hills area who expressed that they wished that community to remain in 2 districts. I had sought to combine as many census-designated areas as possible into single districts. So when I withdrew that map, it was my goal to see if I could work on that problem and come back with a different idea, and that's this map. A lot of the ideas that are in this map are ideas that we have seen before, including putting part of Metro West that's currently in District 1 into District 6. And I also go at the northern end of District 6 up along Silver Star Road, which is something we've seen before. And so I thought about withdrawing this map. I don't necessarily think it's the best map, but it does have a couple of ideas that I think we have not really considered yet. At this point in the process, I think it's important to have all of the ideas out there so that we can consider them when we go into our final deliberations. Key among them is in the 1st District along the northern border. Rather than just having that go along Route 50, I move it up a couple of blocks to keep the entirety of the kind of Route 50 commercial district inside District 1. And then really the only other major change that I'll note is moving all of Eatonville into District 5. As some people have talked about, that Eatonville and Maitland and I think it's Winter Park could naturally coexist within the same district. Those are really the only major changes that I want to point out. Otherwise, it's very, very similar to the districts as they already exist and to what I proposed the last time I was up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hoover. Ms. Barrios, are you prepared for our legal analysis?
Yes, good evening. Committee Proposal 17 meets the minimum legal threshold analysis for consideration by the committee. Specifically, specifically, the maximum deviation is 2.69%, and the relative mean deviation is 0.76%. Again, that maximum deviation is under the 10% threshold for equal population mandate, the one person, one vote principle. The map also meets the state and local contiguity requirements. Moving to the analysis, it does create a new split in Winter Garden. It fully moves the population of Eatonville from District 2 to District 5. There is an error on Table 2. There is no movement of the population of Maitland, and that is shown there, but it was mistakenly placed there. The population is fully consolidated into one district. Ocoee is fully consolidated into District 2 when it's currently split between District 1 and 2. Winter Park is consolidated fully into District 5, where it's currently split between 2 and 5. There's small numbers of population in the city of Orlando, but that's not atypical. And then the other population adjustments would be in Fairview Shores and Pine Hills. This is a new note for the maps going forward. It's just a suggestion, or if the committee finds if practical, will weigh against the other traditional redistricting principles and applicable law to address some of those pre-existing small splits between districts, specifically in Lafayette and Belle Isle. The one in Winter Park was corrected by this map. And moving on, please additionally note Committee Proposal 17, Attachment 1, which proposed moving a portion of Lake Apopka remaining in District 1 into District 2 to make the boundary appear less irregular by following the lake's natural boundary line. And then Committee Proposal 17, Attachment 3, which proposes removing an outer zero block of Gotha into District 2 to make the boundary appear less irregular there as well. And there are some further suggestions that that the committee, with this map and maps moving forward, grant staff the ability to correct some minor zero population blocks that we find when we do review the maps, so that they can correct some of the boundary lines. The software is a little finicky sometimes, and sometimes the certain segments of the roadways and natural bodyways like water bodies and the like are not followed as cleanly as they could be. So just kind of a general authority to staff to kind of fix those things going, especially if this moves forward to public hearing in the future. And that's the end of legal analysis.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. At this time, we'll start our 15 minutes of discussion. Is there anyone on the committee who would like to be heard? So far, we have no names in the queue. We'll go by hands. Oh, there we go. Member Whittington, and then I have Member Kilsheimer and Hodge.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Quick question, one question for staff, and then I'll express the concerns that I have. The attachments that are provided with the legal explanation that shows the zero areas, and then there's some that show 50, 57. If those are moved into the other district, do we know what type of issues that may cause? Because I know sometimes when you think you've got it, you move one thing and it just throws everything else off. Has staff taken a look at that?
Staff has not done the work to see specifically each movement. For 0 blocks, that wouldn't change anything other than the lines because you're not changing any kind of population, so it wouldn't change the maximum deviation. It wouldn't change any of the relative deviations of any of the districts, move any of the 0 block population. When there's talk about moving some of these smaller blocks, like the 57 block that's shown in committee proposal 17 Hatchment 2, which is not being proposed to be moved, but just as an example, if you have a population block like that, typically if it's a small block, it doesn't have an impact on the analysis. You'll see in 18 and 19 where there's some substantial proposals being made to move about 1,000 people. Then staff did go through the analysis to show what those changes and deviations would be. But for small percentages of people, we haven't gone through that analysis.
Okay, thank you. Madam Co-Chair, concerns. Mr. Hoover, thank you. This is a really good map. It looks good. The consideration that I have, or the concern that I have, and I thank you for listening to the people of Pine Hills who have expressed over and over that they would like to remain in 2 districts. But I am concerned with Eatonville. I have stated this more than one time, that I feel that they would benefit from being in 2 districts. And Member Hardage has presented that in map 16, I think it was. I think that he may have heard the same concerns. So for that reason, I would not support moving this one forward.
Member Kilsheimer?
And thank you for your map. It was expressed to me that Mayor Cole of Eatonville had expressed the desire for all of Eatonville to remain in District 2.
Thank you, Member Kilsheimer. Oh, sorry, Member Hoover?
I just said I may have missed that.
Okay.
But I appreciate that.
Member Hodge?
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Member Hoover, thank you for the map. My concerns, echoing the sentiment of my fellow board members here, maintaining Eatonville's fierce independence from Maitland is something that is extremely crucial to them as a community. And by putting them in the same county commission district, we are negating that. And to echo Ms. Harris's comments, I do have great concern of seeing District 6 starting off behind the 8 ball, so to speak, at negative 1.3%. So I do like some of the changes you're proposing, but those are 2 big concerns for me that I can't support.
Next, I have Member Simrod.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Thank you, Member Hoover. I just wanted to voice that I know you moved Eatonville into District 2 into District 5 from District 2. And I think what's really important is if we're going to move a community, we move the whole community. And I think particularly when we have smaller communities, that when we split those communities, like in rural settlements or smaller towns like Eatonville, I think we minimize the voice of the community because it's split between 2 different representatives. So I just wanted to say to the committee, I'm not so opposed to moving Eatonville to District 5. I've spoken with Commissioner Bonilla. She actually felt quite comfortable that Eatonville did align within District 5. And I like that you kept the community all together. And other than that, I liked some of what you did, like with Winter Garden. I think it alleviated some of the number of Winter Garden, but didn't move an exorbitant amount. And then I thought that you did a really nice job with the Pine Hills split there. Thank you.
Member Rocha? You changed your mind? Okay. I just want to point out that I believe this meeting I've heard differing impressions about what Eatonville prefers and what's best for them. And I would love some additional feedback so we can be clear by the time we come to make an official decision, because I think I've heard basically 3 different approaches And I want to make sure that their considerations are properly understood by this group. Does anyone else have comments that they would like to submit regarding map 17? Member Rocha?
Yeah, I have a comment now. Yeah, I agree with you. We heard 3 different versions of unity, but I've also heard some positive comments about the map itself. So I think that's pretty good. I like the map. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rocha. Anybody else? We have no other requests for comments, so we can conclude our discussion period on this proposal. Is there a motion regarding Proposal 17? Member Mellon.
I'll make a motion to move it forward.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Member Mellon and a second by Member Offant.
Am I able to, do I need to motion for us, if we were to move it forward, to adopt the staff suggestions?
We would need to amend the motion if Mr. Member Mellon is willing to do that.
I'm willing to do that. Amend the motion to include staff changes.
Okay,
move forward.
I'll second that.
Yes, please.
I'll second that.
And can we get a quick summary, just as a reminder, what the 5 or what the revisions are?
Yes, so Committee Proposal 17, Attachment 1, proposed moving a portion of Lake Apopka remaining in District 1 into District 2 to make the boundary appear less irregular. And Committee Proposal 17, Attachment 3, proposed moving an outer 0 population block of Gotha into District 2 to make the boundary appear less irregular by following the roadway boundary provided by 7th Avenue. And then, as with Committee Proposal 16, which we haven't gone over, but there's quite a few 0 block maps, 0 block populations highlighted there. When reading the map proposals, staff found several minor 0 population blocks that we would like to correct. And then there was the consideration of Alafaya and Belle Isle. Alafaya is a very easy fix. Belle Isle does require using the 528 as the southern boundary of District 3. So we could leave those for further consideration at a different time, or we could make those changes. That's up to the committee.
Mr. Hoover, what is your pleasure?
I'm comfortable adopting all of those changes into this map.
Okay, so the motion at this time is the incorporation of all the amendments that staff just addressed. Member Mellon, does that continue to be your motion?
It does.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table on the amendment for the proposal 17. Is there any further discussion before we call the question on the amendment? Member Callen.
Looking at the sketch that staff gave us for attachment 1, I just question if the town of Oakland stays in District 1, the people on the lake have what they call riparian rights. And so a lakefront owner would have the position of having to deal with one district commissioner for their upland property and another district commissioner for the lake. Now that may come into play on boat dock permits and stuff like that, but I think we're Lake Apopka. I think the staff's suggestion, while well-intentioned, in reality having to deal with 2 commissioners on a residential piece of land on a lake may be troublesome in the future, so that's what I bring the attention on that. And it's this sketch right here that shows the lake bottom going into District 2, but the upland portion of lakefront property staying in District 1. So I would oppose that.
Ms. Barrios?
That is certainly something the committee can consider. If the committee does consider that, it may want to consider moving those 0 block populations that are also along the rest of the shoreline. into the neighboring districts. But that would be, yeah, that's fine.
This is the only zero block population on Lake Apopka that is in District 1. And that's why attachment 1, I think it should probably stay there with the upland property.
Again, that's up to the committee. Staff just makes suggestions.
I understand the concern, and I struggled as I was putting together the map because that zero block kind of goes over and looks like it touches at least one or two properties in the what would then still be District 2. But as you guys know, there's no way to adjust those lines in the software. So I guess, would I suggest that we amend the motion to not adopt attachment 1 at this time?
I would second that motion.
That's fine.
Okay, we got a motion on the top of a motion.
So to clarify, then the motion would be to have Committee Proposal 17 Attachment 3, which are, and then Belle Isle and Alafaya corrected.
Yes.
Ms. Barrios, you said 3, and what else?
Committee Proposal Attachment 3, and then Alafaya and Belle Isle consolidated populations.
And that's on which attachment?
There's no attachment for those.
Okay.
That's under the potential considerations.
I'm 90% certain I'm not the only person confused right now. I want to make sure we are very clear on exactly what revisions we're approving. So attachment 1 is currently
Not.
no. And then attachment 2, yes or no?
I thought that was a no.
Attachment 2 is not showing any kind of proposed change. Some of the attachments are just to show the committee a zoomed in area to show how those census blocks in those areas are actually look on a closer perspective.
Okay.
So there's only a request from staff for attachment 3. And then for the attachments, for Alafaya to be moved and Belle Isle to be consolidated. Alafaya requires moving one census block over along Dean Road, and Belle Isle, that fix is most cleanly done by using the 528 as the bottom border for District 3.
Okay, so Member Hoover, what I believe your current amended motion is the approval of attachment 3, as well as the adjustments for Alafaya and Belle Isle as identified in the legal analysis on page 3.
That's correct.
Member Mellon, do you?
I'll second that motion. I don't know how we work this at this point in time, but.
Okay, so hearing what our current what's on the table is an amendment to the initial motion. Is there additional discussion about the amendment to the motion? Member Rocha.
Yeah, I would like, for educational purposes only, and because I lack that knowledge, can you educate us why we're going to deal with 2 commissioners? I heard that the lake was going to be with 1 commissioner and then the home with another commissioner. Is it possible you can educate us on that, Tom?
Yeah, just that it's residential property, boat docks. If you have the district commissioner boundary go to shoreline, so you have the house landward of the shoreline, and they want to go for a boat dock, you could have the boat dock be in one district and then have the house in another district that serves the boat dock and vice versa. It gets complicated, can cause some issues. I think it's better just from a process point of view to have the upland lakefront property attached to the riparian rights in the lake bottom. That way, when boat dock permits come in, the staff doesn't know which commissioner controls.
Thank you for that, but I think that if it's public information, the county should definitely make a note of this, that it's something that they need to change as a whole. Thank you.
I have member Simrod, Alphonse, Whittington, and Hodge. Do all of you wish to speak on this amendment? Okay, so in that order, member Simrod? Yeah, I think we need to restart our clock.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I just wanted to say that I concurred with Member Callan's line of thought with the ensuring that we had both parcels of a land or a lot within the same district. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody dropped off. Who was next? Member Whittington?
Madam Co-Chair, I dropped off because I was actually going to suggest during the amendment that we just withdraw all of those and start over because I was really getting lost. But
Are you good now?
And Madam Clerk was too, apparently.
We'll get there. You're good now, though? Thank you. Okay, Member Alphonse.
Thank you. We have a problem here that we need to address sooner or later. We're talking about Lafayette Trail like it is a neighborhood that was created by the census, but with all due respect to everybody, it goes from Avalo Park all the way to Rio Pinar. And those of us who live out there know that you could call it Avalo Park. You could call it Lafayette, but it's not in common. So the 27 people who have always lived in District 3 from the past map to today, I don't have a problem putting them in 4. I do have another problem with Belle Isle. Belle Isle, the 3 people that live there, I'm wondering who they are because that's an industrial park. By the way, that's why it never showed up in the last one. The city of Belle Isle, during the last 10 years, decided to incorporate that area of an industrial park and crosses the 908. I don't mind taking that little thing that they incorporated, put in there, but if we're going to throw 528, then we're going to be throwing a lot of other areas into there, other industrial parks that are not in Belle Isle necessarily, but that the census way that they pull things with this software will be attached to it. And basically, you're going to be attaching areas that, if your intent is to keep Belle Isle there, just put 127. That's the lot that they took. That's the lot that they incorporated. That's part of Belle Isle. That's fine. But you don't need to go to 528 because 528 is going to make a bigger problem than necessary. If you really look at it, it's a little thing jumping over the expressway that was brought in by Belle Isle for tax purposes, and I respect that, but there's no need for that. By the way, I'm curious how they found 3 people, because that's an industrial park, according to the city of Belle Isle. So if anybody's living there, we might want to check that out. I have nothing further.
Next, I have Member Hodge.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. To respond to Mr. Alphonse, if you look on 520 where it crosses into Brevard, there's an island that for all intents and purposes is completely vacant, but somehow has like 30 people living there. So there could be a homeless camp where people are there, so who knows? I had a question for Ms. Barrios. Do we have the ability, seeing on attachment 1, where District 2 is coming up on the land side, can we move that line and break that little census block up in order to facilitate what we're trying to accomplish here?
Unfortunately, we can't. The blocks were drawn by the U.S. Census, so we have no ability to change them. And so that was kind of one of the issues. When you look at the map, there's just an irregularity on the border there, but it's a justifiable irregularity. So.
Okay, thank you.
Member Simrod, I have your name up again now. Any other further discussion regarding the amendment to the motion? Seeing none, to confirm, the motion is made by Member Mellon, second by Member Hoover, and it is an amendment to Committee Proposal 17 to incorporate staff recommendations under Attachment 3, as well as the adjustments listed on page 3 under potential considerations for Lafayette and Belle Isle. At this time, Madam Clerk, will we do a roll call, please?
And just to be clear, this is on the amendment only. Arias? Avant?
No.
Callan? Evans?
Yes.
Hodge? Hoover?
Yes.
Let the record show that Jones has not joined the meeting. Kilsheimer? Connor King? Mellon? Perez?
Yes.
Rocha?
Yes.
Semrod?
Yes.
And Whittington? Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we have an amended Proposal 17 as incorporating the amendment that was just approved. We have no further discussion on the agenda for that, so we can now call the question on the actual Proposal 17 as amended. Madam Clerk, if you'll do a roll call, please.
My pleasure. Arias? Avant?
No.
Callan? Evans?
Yes.
Hodge?
No.
Hoover?
Yes.
Let the record show that Hartage and Jones were both absent. Kilsheimer? Connor King? Mellon?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Rocha?
Yes.
Semrod? And Whittington?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now move into Committee Proposal 18. Member Callan, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Tom Callan. I was appointed by Commissioner Uribe, District 3. This is very similar. These are 2 iterations of the prior Proposal 10 that was approved for recommendation for later consideration. I wanted to address a couple issues that were raised by other members' maps and see if I could incorporate that into the previous Proposal 10. This Proposal 18 removes that portion of Winter Garden south of 50 to the Beltway. That's the first part it does. It keeps Oakland within District 2, thereby having the entire upland area around Lake Apopka and the lake bottom within District 2. It minimizes and reduces the encroachment from District 6 into District 2. That was a big concern by people in the community to have the Pine Hills area in 2 districts. This follows up on the proposal by Member Hodge on his proposal minimizing the extension of District 6 north of Silver Star. And so that was minimized. This proposal keeps Maitland in District 5 and Eatonville in District 2. I've heard, Joe, I've heard that Eatonville wants to be in District 2, and I've heard Eatonville wants to be in District 5. I haven't heard from what Eatonville actually wants directly, but I've heard from both sides of that. But this tries to keep it in District 5. You will note on the attachment 2, I think it is, in the staff report, I made it's hard to use the software. There is a group of the residential area south of the cemetery off Wymore, south of the lake in Maitland, that somehow got stuck in District 2. I meant to put all that residential area south of the cemetery in Eatonville, District 2, instead of District 5. So that's an error on my part. I just have problems with the software from time to time, so I would like that change to be made as well. The other area where changes were made was down by South Chase and Meadowwoods. I raised the line between District 3 and 4, Meadowwoods further north to ensure that all what Meadowwoods is in District 4 remains there. It became a numbers issue at that point. I then included the reflections area of District 4, keep that in District 4, don't go into District 3. That has a significance with a lot of residents in District 4. I thought it'd be appropriate to keep that in District 4. That's off the 417 north of the 528. When you make those two changes, I had to include some of South Chase in District 3 to make the numbers work because District 4 became a larger percentage, 1% as you'll see. That's the two primary changes that were made here. It keeps the rural area that's currently north of 528 in District 5. It groups the area south of 528 in District 5 as well. I try to hold the line on State Road 50 as the boundary between District 5 and District 3 and 4. Those are the changes made to that. Staff's attachments are well done. I like that. I didn't mean to have part of Azalea Park, 16 residents moved, so I had to make that change that staff has. And then we talked about the Maitland issue with Eatonville by the cemetery off Wymore Road. Fairview Shores, like Jimmy had said earlier, Fairview, some of these census tracts are named that even though that goes beyond the neighborhood that we all know of. And Fairview Shores is one of those, and so it's just nothing you can do there. It's already divided. It's still the same as what it is. The Ocoee, I left the Ocoee area south of the Turnpike alone. I find it, I'm trying to preserve the existing commissioner seats, and that's one of the criteria we have. So it's very similar to what I did before. The percentages are within the percentages. It's not as tight. The range is not as tight as it was in Proposal 10, but it does tighten up the area north of Silver Star to address the concerns by residents in Pine Hills to be in both districts. It does address the concerns of District 1 and 2 of Winter Garden staying in District 1. It does address concerns about Eatonville staying in District 2. And it does address concerns about South Chase, Meadowwoods is south, staying all within District 4. And it also adds a reflections area back to District 4.
Thank you, Member. Thank you, Member Cowan. We will now move to the legal analysis for Proposal 18.
Committee Proposal 18 meets the minimum threshold for legal analysis and consideration by this committee. The maximum deviation is 4.01%, which is under the 10% threshold. The relative mean deviation is 1.1%. It also has contiguous boundaries, meeting the state and local contiguity requirement. It does create two of the minor multi-district splits in Azalea Park and Maitland that Mr. Callan already discussed for correction. It creates a new multi-district split between District 4 South Chase, which is currently all in District 4, and splits it between District 3 and District 4, and in Winter Garden, which is currently all in District 1 and splits it between District 1 and District 2. It moves the full population of Oakland from District 1 into District 2. It moves the full population of Taft from District 4 into District 3. It consolidates the following districts of Alafaya, which is currently split between 3 and 4, fully into 4, Belle Isle, which is between 3 and 4, fully into 3, Holden Lakes, which is between 3 and 6, fully into 3, and Winter Park, which is between 2 and 5, fully into 5. Again, there are those small population pockets that we've already addressed. Other population adjustments are Fairview Shores, Ocoee, and Pine Hills, and then it does unify all the zero population blocks of Lockhart. Potential considerations: the committee may wish to consider, if practical, when weighed against the other traditional redistricting principles and applicable law, adjusting the proposed boundaries, as we've already discussed, between District 3 and District 5 for Azalea Park to move that 0.11% of Azalea Park's population, that's 16 people, into District 5, and adjusting the proposed boundary between District 2 and District 5 in order to avoid placing 0.65% of the Maitland population, 128 people, into District 5. There are also some proposed census block adjustments found on page 4 of 5. Those include in committee proposal 18, attachment 3, which proposes moving a 51 population census block located in Orlando into District 6 from District 2, therefore making South Lake Orlando Parkway the dividing line between the two districts in that area. Committee proposal 18, attachment 6, which proposes moving a 66 population census block located in unincorporated Orange County and the 0 population census block to the north of it from District 3 into District 4, thereby making the 417 the dividing line between the two districts in that area. Committee proposal 18, attachment 7, which proposes moving 4 populated census blocks, which is a total of 1,666 people, and several surrounding 0 population blocks into District 3 from District 4, thereby making the 417 the dividing line between the two districts in that area. If implemented, all 3 of the above proposed adjustments, as well as those in committee proposals, attachments A and 1, which are those small population blocks in Azalea Park and Maitland, would impact the relative deviations as shown in Table 7 in the analysis. It would decrease the maximum deviation of the entire map proposal from 4.01% to 3.89%, and the relative mean deviation would decrease from 1% to 8.86%. And that is the end of legal analysis.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. I so far have Member Hodge on the list. Is there any other? Member Hodge, will you start us off? And we start at 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Mr. Callan, thank you for the map. The only areas of concern that I see here is to echo Member Affont's comments with my previous map with regards to District 5 going from the Seminole County border all the way to the Osceola County border. Also, I do like, though I don't like the notch around the Econ Community Center. I think that takes into consideration what the members had requested, but it does look a little gerrymandered. And also my other concern is the removal of the core of downtown Orlando from District 5 into District 3, leaving it at a significant deficit of negative 2.31%. But otherwise, I do like the look of this map. Thank you.
Member Affont.
I like to thank you for the map. I need to bring a couple of things up that concern me. Basically, you put District 4, which is one of the two that has been mentioned, that's going to grow the most, and you put us at 240,000, and basically we're the second largest district. Average is 237, 2 will be at 242, 5 will be at 233, and again 6 will be at 239. That's probably why we're at 4%. That is my concern up front. You're putting my district that I'm representing and the others that basically of concern at the point that once 1 and 4 start growing next year, we're going to be way out. I know we don't need to take into consideration the growth, but just when we're talking a deviation. I have the problem with Azalea Park, to be quite honest, is not 16. The problem is that if you look at the city of Orlando, there's some changes in Azalea Park that's been made that are not counted because they're in the city of Orlando, but that's something else. I appreciate you put all of Eatonville in District 2. I think that is a good move. Holden Lakes in District 3, that is fine. I'm not sure still why we have part of Maitland out. I'm sure that you would correct that. Again, Ocoee is divided in 2, which I think I've already expressed myself. I have no problem with Pine Hills. South Chase, I'm not sure how that will benefit the people, splitting it up 71 to 28%. and I'm not sure what's the need of putting Taft in District 3, to be very honest. And at this point, continue to divide Winter Garden in between 1 and 2. Realistically, the other area that I see that's taken into here is taking the airport from 3 to 4, from 4 to 3, excuse me, which I know nobody lives there, so probably that would not be picked up by staff because there's no population there. But I also find that interesting. Other than that, those are my observations. Thank you.
Member Rocha.
A couple of things. The 5 goes from Seminole to Osceola. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Some of the lines are funny looking. Gerrymandering can be called out. I know that wasn't the point, but again, it's just with the lines and the Seminole. And I echo some of the comments that Member Alfon made.
Member Callan, I have a couple comments I wanted to raise. Thank you for your map. I thank you for your efforts on 18 as well as 19. The things that I see that stick out for me are particularly the intrusion into northern Pine Hills for District 6. I continue to be of the opinion that we can serve that community of interest and position our deviations in a way that meet all the different traditional redistricting principles without extending the boundary north for District 6. I'm also concerned that it seems that the boundary for District 6 through the Soto area comes west, and I believe that takes out ORMC. I know that members of that District 6 serve a number of our important economic engines in this community, including ORMC, not to mention the indigent care that ORMC provides, that so many members of District 6 rely on. So I would like to see that remain within District 6. I think that from an economic and a transportation and a healthcare perspective, those interests are properly aligned for all those members of the community. And again, I must echo that I don't know if I am traditionally, from a redistricting principles perspective, concerned about the shape of District 5, or as opposed to just the way it looks from an initial eyeball perspective. But particularly with respect to the treatment of District 6 is where my biggest concerns lie. Is there anyone else who wants to be heard with respect to Proposal 18? Member Kilsheimer.
First of all, Madam Chair, I just want to say, as an old Orlando person, it's refreshing to hear somebody refer to the hospital as ORMC instead of Orlando Health. That's how, no, listen, I knew exactly what you were talking about. But the other thing, and I know we're not supposed to talk about future growth, but it seems like we always manage to bring it up. And I just want to remind everybody that next year, the Wekiva Parkway opens, and there's one interchange between I-4 and Apopka, and that's the Kelly Park Road interchange, and that area is going to explode with growth. It's going to rival anything that anybody sees in Lake Nona or in Horizon West. So, and it's not on any of the county maps about future growth because it's all, the majority of it is inside the city limits of Apopka, but that area is going to explode with future growth. And this map puts District 2 at 1.69% over the ideal population. Thank you.
I currently don't have any other requests to speak on Proposal 18. Hearing none, Member Callan, do you want to provide any additional remarks?
Yes, the boundary line between District 6 and District 2, north of Silver Star Road, here is, this line is further south than the line and proposal 16 by Mr. Hartage. So this is less intrusive of extending District 6 into District 2. And that was done on purpose. I tried to hold the line that Mr. Hodges had earlier. I thought that was the best. If you compare this line between District 6 and District 2 and Mr. Hartage's proposal, map 16, you'll see that as well. With regard to the ORMC inclusion into District 3, the area around there is all within the city of Orlando. There's comprehensive land use plans. There's an overlay district for SODO. My office is down there. I'm well familiar with it. And so it doesn't really make sense from a land use perspective, transportation perspective, to put the area west of I-4 in District 6. So I just kind of dealt with that's the reason why that was included. That was part of map 10 as well. It just also did include, you're trying to balance District 4. I didn't like the fact that District 4 grew to 1%. Unfortunately, if you include the reflections and include all Meadowwoods, something has to give. And I don't know what that is, but this exercise showed me that something has to give if you try to make that a negative district. It would get even further south, So I tried to keep it as much as possible with the concerns raised by others in previous maps. I do think the staff's attachments were correct to do that, to move the areas we talked about earlier. And the other part is that Azalea Park is fine, and then the Taft Vineland area. District 3 has to grow. It's landlocked. Has to grow. This is really the only way to do it without moving District 3 towards the residents of the District 4 commissioner. So you have to grow south versus east all the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Callan, I just want to make one response to that. I understand the idea of using Interstate 4 as a boundary for Districts 6 and 3. I would venture to say, if you look at the history of the use of that Interstate 4 through that area as a boundary, in my opinion, it would not be something that I would want to further see as part of the history for Orange County on a go-forward basis. So that's just my thought. I think that's a prime example of an area where potentially using highways as boundaries for districts is problematic. But that's just my thought. I wanted to just share that. I don't hear any additional requests for discussion. We have 3 minutes left, 3:56 left. We can go ahead and call the question then. Is there a motion, with respect to Proposal 18? Member Callan?
Yeah, one more comment about the growth of District 2. I didn't like the fact it went to 1.69%, but if you really move that area, that finger into Eatonville, into District 5, then all of a sudden that's a 3% change. It's a big change. The area that we're looking at for Kelly Park Interchange is relatively small compared to the Horizons West. You can see it in the map. Now, I do think Kelly Park will be a big part up there. I do think it's a little bit more down the road than it is immediate. Horizons West has been a 20-year planning horizon for that project. So I felt comfortable this time around, maybe not next time, but this time having extra percentage in District 2. This map was entirely done to try to address concerns raised by other maps. There were good ideas and suggestions by the committee, so I make the motion to approve it.
We have a motion by Member Callan. Is there a second?
I would like to have attachments that's recommended by the staff to be included as part of that.
Do you want to go ahead and clarify your motion before we have a second on the record?
Okay. I'd like to include, going back to the report, and by the way, a very good report by the staff. If I could go in here, in the area concerning between District 5 and District, the Attachment 1, approve that. Regarding Attachment 2, I would approve that. I would actually ask to go a little bit beyond that to include all the residential areas south of that historic cemetery into District 2. So everything south of the historic cemetery on Wymore Road, treat that as part of Eatonville in District 2. The other item would be on, and then the other proposals, I don't know if they're really substantive or not, were they, in population-wise?
There were a couple of substantive ones, the 51 population block in attachment 3, the 66 population block in attachment 6, and then there was also the larger suggestion in attachment 7.
Yeah, I'm good with all those attachments. I would like to have the the first attachment that dealt with the area that was somehow put into inadvertently into District 5. That would be attachment 2. I'd like to have that actually go further up and a little north of that area into just south of the cemetery.
And what was the road the cemetery was on?
Wymore?
Wymore.
For the good of the order, I think that we need just some clarity on attachment 2. You will identify for us exactly where the boundary will go now?
You look at attachment 2, there's a reference there to a, it's hard to read, Memorial Park? Bradford Memorial Park?
Dr. Bradford Memorial Park,
Okay. So that area around Brock Drive and all the area to the west and south of Brock Drive and Thompson Avenue, that would be included in District 2.
Okay.
I don't think the staff goes further enough because there's still homes that are in that community, in that neighborhood, that are there outside of the staff's recommended proposal. If we can do that. I don't know if we can do that or not.
My challenge is that how do we articulate from a census block perspective with clarity? And then my follow-up question for staff would be, if we're going to attempt to capture the land that is south and west of Brook and Thompson, is there a census block on the opposite side of Thompson because it looks like there's houses there. I'm not sure.
I could ask that question if I was at my desk. No, it's a giant block. The census people decided to treat all that area south, that area. So nothing you can do about it. You know, it's imprecise by the census block, so I would keep what staff's recommendation is there. So I like to move this map with all the recommendations by staff.
And so to just confirm what I heard, it's attachment 1, attachment 2, attachment 3, attachment 6, and attachment 7.
And attachment 4.
And attachment 4, okay.
I'll second that motion, Madam Co-Chair.
So, who was that? Oh, Member Co-Chair Perez. Thank you. You're Member Co-Chair Perez today.
It's hyphenated.
I'm sorry.
It's 2 hyphens.
So the motion that we have is the approval of Proposal 18 with the incorporation of attachments 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. Okay. We have a motion and a proper second. Madam Clerk, will you run a roll call, please?
Arias? Yes. Apont?
No.
Callan?
Yes.
Connor? Evans?
No.
Hartage?
Yes.
Hodge?
No.
Hoover? Kilsheimer? Excuse me, was that a no? Mellon? Perez? Rocha? Samrod? Whittington? The motion fails.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Member Callen, Proposal 19.
It's essentially the same one, but this is the putting in the Eatonville area in District 5 and more of Fairview Shores. This draws the line at 434. As you know, a lot of Ms. Maitland goes east and west of I-4, some parts even to 434. There's residential area 434. Same with Eatonville. Eatonville goes both east and west of I-4, and it goes all the way, extends to 434. If you draw that line there, and this includes all the area in Kingswood Manor and the area both north and south of Lee Road, which currently are divided into two different districts. If you put that area into District 5, the numbers are interesting. It's just comparing the numbers back and forth. That one change, and only that one change, it has a substantial difference here, about 3.1% on the size of District 2. District 2 goes down to minus 1.69%. And then District 5 goes from a minus 2.31% from Proposal 18 to 1.04% for District 5, positive. So it's kind of interesting just trying that issue. The question is if it is determined that the community wants to be in District 5, then this would be a proposed map. If they want to stay in District 2, then that would have been District 18 or other maps. Thank you.
Legal analysis, please.
Committee Proposal 19 passes the minimum legal threshold for review by the committee. The maximum deviation is 2.7%, which is under that 10% threshold for the one person, one vote standard. The relative mean deviation is 0.78%, and the proposal has contiguous districts, so it complies with the contiguity requirements of the state and local government. It does have the same Azalea Park discrepancy that was moved to be corrected in Committee Proposal 18. There's additional split in South Chase, where it's currently in District 4, to split it between District 3 and District 4. In Winter Garden, there's a new split created where District Garden is completely in District 1 currently. It splits it between District 1 and District 2. Populations moved fully into new districts. Eatonville is moved completely from District 2 to District 5. Oakland is moved completely from District 1 to District 2. Taft is moved completely from District 4 to District 3. It does consolidate several populations into one district, including Alafaya, from District 3 to District 4 to District 4 only, from Belle Isle from District 3 and District 4 to 3 only, Fairview Shores from District 2 and 5 to 5 only, Holden Lakes from 3 and 6 to 3, Winter Park from 2 and 5 to 5. And then there are other population adjustments in Ocoee and Pine Hills, and it does correct some zero population outlier blocks in Lockhart and Maitland. The potential consideration for the committee here would be that 0.11% of Azalea Park's population, that's 16 people, moving them into District 3 to avoid placing them, leaving them in District 5. And then there are a few of the same population blocks that were addressed in Committee Proposal 18 as well. The 51 population in Attachment 2, the 66 population in Attachment 5, and then those 1,066 people in that area in between District 3 and District 4 in Attachment 6. And then, as with the other map, if all those population adjustments were made, there's a table that shows what those changes would look like in the relative deviations in Table 7. And then the maximum deviation of the map proposal would increase from 2.7% to 2.71% with those changes, and then the relative mean deviation would decrease from 0.78% to 0.67%. And that is the end of the of Legal's analysis.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. Are there any requests to be heard on map proposal 19? I have no one in the queue. Okay.
I'll withdraw it.
We have proposal 19 being withdrawn by member Cowan. We have to vote on that. Is there a second for the withdrawal?
I'll second.
I'll second that withdrawal.
And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Cowan. Proposal 20.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Wes Hodge, representing District 5, having been appointed by Commissioner Bonilla. First, I want to apologize. After Thanksgiving and Go Broke Friday and Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday, I was in a turkey coma. So this map was supposed to be the discussed changes from Proposal 12, but I did miss 2. It is basically substantively Proposal 12 with the modification of moving the lower southeast corner of Orange County from District 5 back to District 4, which is a net of 147 people. The part that I did forget to consolidate that staff did point out in their suggested changes was the consolidation of Winter Park into District 5. So any motion would, I would amend it to include those changes. And then it does not have the notch for the Econ Community Center taken out, but that's again something that we could discuss as a committee. And I do want to kind of address Mr. Catella and Ms. Huntley's points. When you're driving this map, and I think Member Callan touched on it, you know, it's a give and a take. And when you try to figure out how to get District 1 more in line with the average or even below average, it affects everything else. And so the question was, how can we manipulate these maps to work? And we've gone in and utilized Highway 50 is what I've used to divide District 1 and 2 between Winter Garden and Ocoee. And I think that that is a reasonable concession by this committee. Number one, because as we've heard time and again, the municipalities are the ones that are controlling those residents by and large, and so therefore they will not substantively notice the difference of having 2 different commissioners. I've spoken to former county commissioners, former mayors about this, and they actually advocate in the opposite of what we had heard, that having 2 commissioners representing you gives you 3 votes on the county commission, because in theory you have the mayor and the 2 county commissioners representing those residents. So looking at also the size of Ocoee at 47,000, the size of Winter Garden at just under 47,000, both of those are a split in those municipalities is reasonable. I don't think that there's anything unreasonable about that request, especially when you look at Fairview Shores, which only has 11,000 people, actually fewer than 11,000 people, has a split. And Union Park as well. So those are the basic changes. I do agree, like I said, with staff's recommendation for the consolidation of Winter Park, and I would look at moving that slight notch to accommodate Econ Community Center. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hodge. Can we have the legal analysis, please, Ms. Barrios?
Yes, this committee map proposal 20 meets the minimum legal threshold analysis with a maximum deviation of 1.09%, which is under the 10% threshold for the one person, one vote federal equal population law, and a relative mean deviation of 0.33%. It also has contiguous districts, therefore meeting the state and local contiguity requirements. Committee Proposal 20 creates new divisions in the city of Maitland, which is from District which is wholly in District 5 right now, which should be split in between District 2 and District 5. In Winter Garden, there would be the split between from District 1 into District 1 and District 2. Populations fully moved to new districts include Taft from District 4 to District 3, Williamsburg from District 1 to District 6. Populations fully consolidated into one district. Alafaya, Belle Isle, and Holden Lakes are all fully consolidated into Districts 4, 3, and 3 respectively. Other population adjustments include adjustments in the populations in Fairview Shores, the City of Ocoee, City of Orlando, and Pine Hills. And then Table 6 does show a correction on an outlier zero population block. The potential consideration is that Winter Park pre-existing division between District 2 and District 5. And that is the end of staff's legal analysis.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. We'll begin our 15 minutes of discussion. Co-Chair Perez.
Wes, just for clarification, if we move 20 forward, would you withdraw 12?
That would be the intention, yes. If map 20 is approved to move forward, I will make a motion to remove proposal 12.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to be heard on proposal 20? Member Hardage.
Yeah, again, a great map, but I had the objection the last time of it moving Williamsburg and I guess that would be the southern boundary of District 6. I think that's too drastic a change for me. I represented that district, and I know that the people of Williamsburg prefer to stay where they are. And I just don't see the merit of doing that. That's why I voted against the map the last time. Actually, I thought the prior map was a better map, and I actually liked the map. But this creates an impact to District 6 that I don't think is advantageous to maintaining a county that continually looks like the voters of the county. So I would have to oppose it for that. But if that was an amendment, I would support it.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I know you weren't here, but Commissioner Wilson did kind of clarify the reasoning behind moving Williamsburg, and so that was kind of why my reasoning for the recommendation. But I do take what you have said into account as well.
I have Member Alfont next.
Put your mic on.
For showing us something that I've been mentioning for a long time. When you drew the map here and you changed part of District 3 and you put it in District 5 and used the 408, believe it or not, even though it doesn't reflect it here, between 408 and Colonial is Asalia Elementary. You put it in District 3, but because it's in the City of Orlando limits, it's not going to be reflected because the census uses their own creation of what they call Asalia Park, and it's not there. The only reason I bring that up is because basically that population, Dover, Shores, and that area, that's always been considered part of District 3. Their very analysis with the other people is not going to be reflected because the people of the census did not include it. That's their mistake, not yours. Just for clarification. That's one area that I need. The only other area is, again, and I'm going to bring this up, and I know people don't like it when I say this, but we're with 4 is going to be with 239, 650, and basically the only other place near is going to be 1 at 239.08. So the 2 districts that are going to be growing the most are with the highest population. That's concerning to me. I just want you to understand. I respect your map, but I want you to understand where I'm coming from, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Member Alfont. Member Hodge, you want to respond?
Yeah, if you don't mind. My question back to you, Member Alfont, and this is, I think, where we have to struggle, is where do we find a reasonable concession to move the lines? And so I spent many, many hours looking at this, trying to find ways to make those adjustments. I'm open to suggestions, and I'm willing to hear them, but I am concerned about getting into a really gerrymandered looking map, which I think is something we're trying to all get away from and move towards a more consolidated map.
Since the question was addressed to me. Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay. You can leave it at 50, to be quite honest. It was there before, and it's not gerrymandered. You continue it all the way straight through, so that would include Azaria Park would be in 3, so those numbers would be there. And basically, the way you're, to me, if you want to be honest, you could lose part of when you went down to Taft and you made some curves that apparently you were trying to get numbers, or you were being pulled by the census, one or the other. I'm not sure about that one. But basically, if you go back to the boundaries it had before, and you take a little way of what you went south, you're going to be there. I'm just concerned, to be quite honest. If Colonia is good from all the way from Bithlo, I mean, and Christmas, all the way down to Ocoee in your map, there's no need to go down to 408. That's what I'm trying to get to.
You're talking about the 408. I'm sorry, do you mind, Madam Chair? Okay. You're talking about you're basically talking about the area around the executive airport, is that correct?
Yes, basically.
I'm 100% amenable to that change. My more specific question to you was in the adjustment for 4, when you're looking at trying to remove population from 4, I took the border with 3 all the way down to Meadow Woods and all the way down basically to, my mind is drawing a blank at this moment. What's on the west side of South Chase? Thank you, Mr. Callan. You know, you can't go any further south there without going into those CDPs. When you look over on the east side along with 5, you're up against the Alafaya or Avalon Park neighborhood, so then you're starting to bust up Avalon Park to get population out of 4 and into 5. And then if you look at the line around 4 and 3, we're going down to 417, but again, you're looking at jumping into Rio Pinar, or jumping over across the 417 further into District 4. You're now you're encroaching on where the current commissioner lives. So the only other option left would be Lake Nona, and you don't want to start splitting up Lake Nona because that is, you know, a whole area that does have a very unique commonality, and I would not want to take Lake Nona out of District 4 to put it in District 3. So I really struggle with trying to find where we can get people out of 4 and put them in 3 or 5.
And if you look at my map, contrary to I don't agree with the census and on Lafayette Trail neighborhood because it's absurd, and I'm going to call it what it is.
I agree.
What I did is I took part of Avalon Park. I sacrificed what is a strong voting area for myself, okay? And I took part of it, gave it to 5, because right now, your map, 5 is 2.31 under, and the growth in 5
I'm 0.7.
Oh, excuse me, yes, 1.7. But still, that 5 compared to 4 in growth, I think we could agree. That's why I said I gave it. And I know I was dividing what they considered Alafaya. I don't. You and I live out there, and we know. So you can give part of, and even though it's in my district, you could take part of Antelope Park, put it in 5, and I'm fine with that. Just since you asked the question, I'm trying to give you the best answer I can.
And I greatly appreciate that because this is the only forum where we can have that conversation. So
and
thank
that's
you.
That's why I'm coming up that way, because there is, you know, what I'm trying to say, I think we all have to understand we're going to have to sacrifice our own districts.
Right.
And my sacrifices, I'll give up a part of Avalon Park because I realize that at the end of the day that I had to do something.
Absolutely. Thank you for indulging me in that conversation. I greatly appreciate it.
Member Rocha.
I commend you guys on your bromance and camaraderie among each other and trying to teach each other stuff. Jimmy said what I was going to say at some point, but I'm not in favor of the map. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Member Callan.
Following up on Commissioner Hartage's comment about Williamsburg, I don't know the area that well down there. Is Central Florida Parkway, is Williamsburg on both sides of Central Florida Parkway, north and south?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then the other question is, did you run this map keeping Oakland in, or putting Oakland in District 2?
Yes, no, Oakland remains in District 1, which is why it comes up at the very end out there at the west end of the county.
Did you run an iteration of it trying to put Oakland in District 2 to see if those numbers would change?
I did, but The concession that I made was continuity of representation, and as Commissioner Wilson touched on, they had just voted for their commissioner, so the sentiment was to keep Oakland in District 1 just for continuity of representation.
Okay, thank you.
Member Simrod, and then I have Member Mellon.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I have a question regarding protocol first with maps. And we had a very good discussion between Member Hodge and Member Affluent. So is it possible to make that large of an amendment where we talk about collecting from Avalon at this late stage? Because we're past the deadline to resubmit a map. So, I mean, is that something that can be done at this stage? Or can we only make amendments to what staff recommends?
No, I think that there's an opportunity for amendments to be motioned, second, discussed, and voted as people are evaluating maps, same way we've done with staff recommendations just previously. Co-Chair Perez, do you agree?
I do, and then we'll just recalculate the numbers and report it back out. If we move this map forward with some amendments, we would, staff would recalculate those numbers and move it back out into our meeting on Thursday when we start to wean maps. Mm-hmm. But if there's some amendments we want to add to this or change to this, we got free, it's a whiteboard.
Okay, so Member Hodge, I really like this map, but I think that there are some improvements that could be made if we made some amendments. Would you make those amendments?
What would the suggested amendments be?
The suggested amendments would be the first regarding 408, where the using 50 as the border. And then the second would be looking at collecting a portion of the Avalon into District 5 to accommodate the growth that is in District 4.
I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say we'll need more specifics than that.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
My proposal would be this. I am open to that. If you would be willing to allow me the opportunity to move this map forward, I have no issue with the first concession, which is restoring the 5-3 boundary along what I believe is Crystal Lake Road and Colonial Drive. I have no issue with that concession. I would like the opportunity to go back and draw a line through Avalon Park, see what it looks like, and bring it back as an amendment for consideration. But I wouldn't be ready to make that right now if that's a fair concession.
Yeah, I think that it is. And just for you to know, I support your map as is. But I do think that there are some viable comments that could improve while, making additional concessions to accommodate Orange County population. Thank you.
Thank you.
I next have Member Mellon, followed, just for the record, for everybody else, somebody just came off the bottom, so I don't know who that was. Member Whittington, and then Member Rocha. And Member Simrod, are you there again? No? Okay, off. All right, so Mellon, Whittington, Rocha. 2 minutes, 30 seconds, please.
Y'all already know what I'm going to say. COE, you'll sacrifice 18,000 people from District 1 in Winter Garden and put them in District 2 when they've never been in District 2, and Winter Garden has always predominantly been in 1. That is not, continuity of representation. That's 8,000 people in a COE that want to be in District 2, along with the City Council wants to be in District 2. Literally everybody in a COE wants to be in District 2. We've had people here talk several times. I think we've even had a few emails that a COE wants to be in District 2. Yet your map is the only one that goes down 50 when the others are making compromises and concessions and dropping it back down, along the freeway, which is still, puts part of a COE in District 1, but it does add more, people to 2 and to drop the amount of people in one, which we have to do. That's all I got.
Thank you, Member Mellon. Member Whittington.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. The Williamsburg into District 6 concerns me. I understand from Commissioner Wilson's comments this morning, the reason at the beginning of the meeting, kind of feels like this morning, but the reason for wanting to do that. However, I think that is a tremendous impact to District 6 and not in a positive way. Also, I did not have the privilege of hearing your Proposal 12 that you have stated that you would withdraw if this one were to move forward. Can you summarize the major differences between those two for us?
If the co-chairs would indulge me with maybe an extra 2 minutes just so
Yeah,
we
we're going to need extra time because we have two other people who need to speak, and I'm going to let you respond to that.
Madam Chair, I would be able to do it if I had some Wi-Fi here. I was trying to pull it up, and it's just got really wonky Wi-Fi.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So would you like me to address that right? Okay. So basically the significant change is only moving the line. I had used where you see the 4 and the 0.55% on this map. I had continued down using the river as the border between 4 and 5 going all the way to the Osceola County border. This removed that segment back into District 4. That was the only substantive change that was made. So basically, there are identical maps beyond that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Member Rocha.
Yeah, just I wanted to comment. I know that we were going back and forth on what we can and we couldn't do. If I'm not mistaken, in the rules that we read the first day, it states if the co-chairs agree on any change or amendment or changing the rules or changing the process, as long as the co-chairs agree and we have majority of vote, we could change anything we please, or the co-chairs can change and the committee can confirm by a majority of the vote. So I think I think that if we want to submit additional maps or make additional amendments, as long as we follow the rules and the co-chairs have a joint motion, we can move forward. And the comment was made based if we need to make additional changes or submit additional maps.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Julio, I think the comment was, can we make larger changes to existing maps that are not, we're not the ones included and recommended by staff? And the answer to that is absolutely, we can amend any of these maps. It wasn't, can we submit additional maps? Because we don't have time in our schedule to do that, and we are at final mapping point. But the original comment was, can we make wholesale amendments? And the answer to that is absolutely, we can make wholesale amendments. And we'll probably be doing a lot of that starting on Thursday. So if there's, again, if there's a map that works other than a change that the staff didn't make or something we want to suggest, I would suggest we push it through and then make those amendments at the next meeting. First, we're going to winnow, hopefully, and then we're going to make those changes. But yeah, but it wasn't to allow additional new maps to be submitted.
I have a request for comment from Member Alfont, Member Arias, and then Member Callan. I would appreciate, however, to the extent possible, we can exercise brevity.
I'm going to be brief. If you look at my map, I took half of Avalon Park out of it. You could just use those same lines. To be quite honest, I already went through the experience of pulling census things, so it's going to be relatively much easier if you do it that way.
Thank you.
Member Arias.
Mr. Hodge, I thought it was an excellent map. I appreciate the hours you put into this. I really do. I know it's difficult. Along the lines of Member Semrod, so then are you amending the map to extend the northern boundary from 408 to 50 as was previously discussed?
Yes.
Thank you. I support your map.
Thank you.
Member Callan.
The question I have is on the buttons on the maps. We can email a map, we can submit a map, and we can share a map. So between now and Thursday, are we going to be able to, at our own leisure at home, look at everyone's map and make changes to it, suggestions if we want?
I'm going to ask staff to confirm, but the maps that are available online, are they also identified under the shared maps as ones that we can just upload, access ourselves? Yes, and the nomenclature is clear on Maptitude?
So staff, over the last week, added the maps that are still in consideration to the shared map folder. I believe what was the username that they're under? Yeah, they go by the proposal names, committee proposal, it would be 13A and all the ones that are currently under consideration. They were put under a username, I think it's public meeting or something to that effect, but you'll see them. That way, when we do get to making the live adjustments, staff can pull those maps, but that also gives the committee members the time to play with those maps live on the software as well.
Thank you. Member Callan, does that answer your question?
Well, before Thursday, are we going to vote? Hopefully Thursday is our last meeting, right?
No, sir. Right now we're scheduled for the 13th to be our last meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I was hoping Thursday would be our last meeting.
It could be Thursday if we all work together.
Well, I do have a reluctance about approving a map amendment that I haven't seen. I'm one of those people, a stickler about that. I think I need to see the numbers, make sure the numbers are good. I know moving around Avalon, I've tried that in the past. It's a huge number out there moving around. It has big, significant swings. So I'd like to see that first. But I think this is an excellent map. Move it on. I'd make a motion to move this map on, unamended.
Thank you, Member Callan. Member Semrod.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Point of order, you have a motion on the floor.
I apologize. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, now discussion. Member Semrod.
I just had a question leading off of staff's comment. It was nothing regarding this map. So, and it pertained to Member Callan. So I'm on the website and I was for some time today also trying to download the existing maps that are under consideration to then adjust the boundaries to do something like with Member Hodges' map with Avalon, but they're PDFs. They're not, you can't play with them.
If you go into the Maptitude software and you go to the share map, then you can actually find all the maps in the software itself to play with.
Okay.
Madam Co-Chair, I would like to make an amendment to Mr. Callan's motion. The amendment would be to use staff's recommendation to consolidate Winter Park into District 5, and the additional amendment of moving the border for District 3 and 5 back to its current location between what I believe is Crystal Lake and 436 or Cimarron Boulevard.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Second it.
Okay, so now we have discussion on the amendment for the motion. And is there any discussion? And just to be clear.
Excuse me, could you tell me who seconded that motion, please?
Member Arias.
Thank you.
And to be clear, the current amendment that is now up for question is the incorporation of staff's recommended changes as well as the revision of the boundary between Districts 3 and 5 between Crystal Lake Road and Cimarron Road to reflect the current boundaries.
Correct. Yes, I believe it's Crystal Lake, but I'm not 100%, but we'll just say whatever that current boundary is. But yes, you're correct. And the consolidation of Winter Park per staff's recommendation.
Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Madam Co-Chair, I call the question on the amendment.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you do a roll call? Second, thank you. We have a call for question from Co-Chair Perez, a second from Member Hardage. Will you do a roll call on the amendment?
On the amendment, Arias? Affont? Callan? Connor? Evans?
Yes.
Hardage? Hodge?
Yes.
Hoover. Kilsheimer. Mellon. Perez. Rocha.
No.
Semrod.
Yes.
And Whittington.
No.
Motion passes.
Now we'll move forward with the motion, as amended. Madam Clerk, will you go ahead and do a roll call, please?
Arias. Avant. Callan. Connor. Evans.
No.
Hartage. Hodge.
Yes.
Hoover. Kilsheimer. Mellon. Perez. Rocha.
No.
Semrod. Whittington.
No.
It appears you have a tie.
Chairs break the tie.
You're missing Member Jones.
Is a tie is a de facto fail? Yes.
So the motion fails.
Okay, so then.
Motion
so 12,
fails
yeah,
and we
12
move
is
on, right?
active. Okay, so at this time, I will leave 12 under consideration, and I will make an amendment and bring that as amended on Thursday. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Member Hodge. Member Hartage, Proposal 16.
All right, good afternoon. First, Madam Co-Chair, Mr. Co-Chair, I apologize for being late. And thank you, Jason. I was not busy, I just forgot. But I appreciate your call. My map committee proposal number 16 is really just committee proposal number 6, 1.2. And after listening to some of the presentations made by the other board members, I've tried to adjust it. For instance, the mayor has made several comments about keeping Oakland and Ocoee together, so I've adjusted it so that Ocoee remains in district number 2. Of course, I take Tiltonville out of District 1 and continue to place that in District 2. And his concern was that Oakland remain in District 1. I think that was his suggestion. So that remains in District 1. We've had letters from the residents of Metro West indicating that they would like to remain in District number 1. So this map adjusts to leave them in District number 1. Holden Lake has sent letters indicating that they would prefer to be in District 3. So I've adjusted my original map to move them back to District 3. There's an error, as far as I'm concerned, where Maitland is split. My intention was to include Maitland all in District number 5. So if this map moves forward, then we'll make that motion to amend. Another change is that I split Eatonville. The question is why I split Eatonville. One, there's some interest in Eatonville and with residents and leaders there that Eatonville is actually developing more in line with Maitland than it is with the majority of District 2. That is up for question, for debate, but that seems to be the consensus. So that is split. I leave Taft in one district. I changed the line from my previous map for District 3. I had the southern boundary was kind of picking up parts of the airport. I moved that up closer to the historical line. So one of the goals of this map is to stay as close to the traditional district boundaries as possible, and at the same time come as close as I can to the 238,000 or so residents we need in each district. Another question that's come up during discussion is that District 1 and District 4 are set up for tremendous growth in the future. Now, I'm aware that that's not our objective to make decisions based on the future. We have to make decisions based on the census data that we have. However, this map does leave a little bit of flexibility that would accommodate some of those major developments in District 1 and District 4. And also District 5. You notice both of those numbers are negative. Those are the major changes. And if this map should move forward, as I said, I would accept the staff suggestions about lines that were left out. I think I just didn't pick up some lines that I should have picked up. But this is really just a remake of my previous map. Question.
Thank you, Member Hardage. Ms. Barrios with the legal analysis, please.
Committee Proposal 16 passes the minimum legal threshold for consideration by the committee. It has a maximum deviation of 1.07%, which is under the 10% one person, one vote threshold. The relative mean deviation is 0.32%. It also has contiguous districts in compliance with the state and local contiguity requirements. There are a couple of new multi-district population divisions that are created by this proposal. In Eatonville, which is currently all in District 2, it is split between District 2 and District 5 now. In Fairview Shores, there is a third split being created. Currently, Fairview Shores has District 2 and District 5 split between them. And now there is also an additional split into District 6. In Maitland, there is a split between, it is currently all in District 5. It is creating a split between District 2 and District 5. And in Winter Garden, all in District 1 currently, and there's now a split between District 1 and District 2. Populations fully moved into new districts include Taft, which is from District 4 to District 3, and Tildenville, which is from District 1 to District 2. Populations fully consolidated into one district include Alafaya, Belle Isle, and Winter Park into District 4, 3, and 5, respectively. And then other population adjustments include in the city of Ocoee and in Pine Hills, and then also the slight outlier or zero population correction in Lockhart was observed by staff as well. Moving on to page 404 of the legal analysis, Committee Proposal 16, Attachment 5, proposed moving a 10 population census block located in Orlando into District 3 from District 6 in order to make South Orange Avenue the dividing line between the two districts. And then there are attachments 6 through 12. There are a number of zero population blocks that staff has recommended being moved so that the lines follow natural boundaries or population roadways more clearly. Should the committee wish to approve this map and move it forward for further consideration, it may want to do so with an amendment directing staff to make the boundary adjustments shown in committee proposals 16, attachments 3 and 5, as well as those shown in attachments 6 through 12. And that's the end of the legal analysis.
Thank you, Ms. Barrios. So far, we're going to start our 15-minute discussion. I have requests from Member Arias and Member Hodge.
May I?
Yes, sir.
So thank you for your match, Mr. Hardage. The northern border of District 3, would you be willing to amend up to the original line of Colonial?
Yes.
Right, and I also have a question for staff. My understanding was that as long as the map meets legal minimum threshold and it's not gerrymandering and we consider everything we're supposed to consider, as a secondary consideration, we can consider growth. Is that a mistake?
Growth should be a secondary consideration for a number of reasons, one being that the Constitution protects the rights of the people who are currently present, not people who are not present. So the goal of the committee is to redistrict the currently present population of Orange County so that they are split into as equal as practicable. So to the extent that there would be any kind of balance on the map that would change that or challenge that assumption, that would be problematic. but to the extent that it would not, and that you can follow the normal traditional redistricting principles and then still come to a conclusion that growth was considered, that is fine. There has been some comments regarding growth that I'm going to take the opportunity right now to address because you've given it to me. One of the topics regarding growth is this idea of future growth and knowing that these developments are going to come to fruition. We don't know that they're going to come to fruition. In 2008, we didn't know that a lot of developments were not going to come into fruition. We can't tell the future. So to that extent, I would caution the committee on that level. And then regarding the future growth being addressed, there is also the balance between not moving people away from their core districts, and that there's a tension there of moving those populations to that negative number. You're moving a lot of people away from the districts that they have voted for in anticipation of new members. There is the opportunity midterm for the Board of County Commissioners, if the populations do become out of proportion, to do another redistricting before the 10-year period is up. In the statute, in fact, in the statute of Florida, there is the direction from time to time to make those adjustments if necessary, if the populations become out of control within that 10-year period. And of course, there is the 10-year period where we will be redistricting again. So to some extent, there's just the balance of the people who are currently here counted and their rights that they currently have under the Constitution, which are the ones we are addressing, versus this proposed future rights, which were speculative rights that are important, but making sure that we're balancing them in a meaningful way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So the answer to my question was yes.
Yes, it's secondary.
So along the lines, I just want to point out something to the committee members that I'm sure you all know. Clearly looking at all these maps, 6 and 3 are locked. They cannot really expand due to their not enough land. 4, 5, 1, and 2 still have great opportunities for growth. And I understand everything that staff has said, Ms. Barrios has said, but at the same time, we can't just ignore the growth that's going to happen, in my opinion, in 4, and 2, and 1, and in 5. So just so the committee members are aware, 6 and 3 are locked. Just look at the map. So it's very difficult for 6 and 3 to grow. And it's just a matter of common sense. So that wasn't just an offhanded comment. I wanted to make sure about growth. And Mr. Hardage, thank you for the map. I appreciate it. And thank you for your willingness to amend the northern boundary.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Member Hodge next.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I'd like to just take a moment of personal privilege and say that map 20, having getting 7 for and 7 against, is the perfect map because just as many people like it as don't like it. But in all seriousness, Commissioner Hardage, thank you for this map. I do agree with the concession on the District 3-5 split that we've already discussed.
Yes.
The other concern that I just have is that Pine Hills Silver Star boundary. I don't know if we could move it down to the line that I had used, which was Indian Hills Road, and that would give us a little bit more of a cohesive line there and respect the community's wish to keep more of Pine Hills in District 2. Is that something you're open to?
I've actually tried to do that, and it becomes extremely difficult. I think on your first map, I pointed out that I actually liked your line, but when you do that, it shifts District 6 too far south and picks up votes that throws the percentages off. Now, they're only small percentages, 4% voting age difference, decrease from the prior percentage. So it may seem like a little bit, but remember, we can elect presidents with 250 people. So that means a lot. And so that was my main concern about that southern portion. So if you bring that line down, then you have to make the adjustment somewhere else. Is it going to be Metro West? Is it going to be Holden Shores? And that's what my first map did. My first map brought in Holden Shores. But I think that if we can make our maps as close to the current lines as possible and still get within the range of the census required data, that should be our goal. And this map gets us within the range of of the 238,000 on nearly all 6 districts. And that's why I didn't do that. But I actually liked your line. But it was just difficult to do it. And something has to change, something has to give. And it just seemed like a natural progression. But I think that this tries to tie in some of the suggestions that other board members have had and I've observed. And it's not perfect, but I think it puts us closer to the ballpark.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hardage, thank you for this map. I just want to jump in on the conversation on District 6. I continue to believe that we don't need to go as far north to accommodate the adjustments, and I do think that we can go south and west on some of these boundaries as shown in some of these other maps. I know that you mentioned the importance of preserving that community of interest, but I think that we can do that in a way where we don't unduly further split the Pine Hills community, and we accommodate some of the growth that's available in District 1 for District 6. So I just wanted to make that point.
May I address that?
Sure.
If it was here's the deal on that. One, I've been elected in this district, and I've campaigned in this district, and small numbers around the periphery makes a difference. My first campaign was against a Republican. I actually almost lost that race, just based on the numbers. And so that's what this is all about. If we end up with a map that puts us in a position where we're not able to have a community that represents and looks like the whole of Orange County, then that's a problem for me. And I've campaigned for other people in Williamsburg, and they have a strong desire to remain where they are. And District 6 people have a strong desire for them to stay where they are. We like them. We want them to do well. But I think to make that change, we're really walking on thin ice there. I would like to change it myself, but I just don't see any reasonable way to do it unless we change the lines, like someone wants to change the line of 50, move that back a little bit west, or pick up Metro West. I would not see any reasonable map getting past our board that brings it south. Now, that's not our objective to deal with the board, but it just makes reasonable sense.
I just want to point out that I think both Proposal 17 and 13 most recently have some different approaches to District 6 that I thought that made it through this process that I think that may be beneficial. And that's just two I have right here in front of me. So excuse me if I'm failing to mention others. But I know that Co-Chair Perez wanted to speak as well, and we have a number of other people.
My only question, Commissioner, I like your map. I like map 6. Will 16 replace 6 then, and you would withdraw 6 if we advance 16?
No, I would not like to do that.
Okay, I'm asking if that's your intention, because we'll be winnowing in the next few days. So,
what I'm thinking is, as we start to dialogue with the various board members, and if you see fit to move this map forward, I anticipate that when we start to whittling these things down, that there will be some give and takes on almost all the maps. And I would prefer to let both of them be in the whittling process, because I'm not married to either one, but I just think they're the best that I can do.
I'm just said the process begins Thursday.
Yes.
So, okay.
Member Rocha.
Yes, going to need probably staff. At the beginning of our task, I remember that Kelly, our fellow committee member, many times suggested that we look at growth. And if my memory does not recall incorrect, we were told time after time again that we would not look at future. Today they said secondary, so I'm a little concerned because these meetings have been recorded, are posted out there and televised. I want to make sure that we clarify why now it's a yes and before it was a no, or if I'm misunderstanding, because there are people watching, and I remember clearly, and if I'm mistaken, I'm going to stand corrected, but we were told, and we were given this piece of paper right here, that growth was not to be taken into consideration. Today we say yes, so I am confused. Can somebody clarify that for me? And I would like to recall our minutes, because in our minutes, I'm sure they're recorded in the minutes that we were not supposed to use future growth. A gentleman spoke today who spoke before, he's sitting right there, who encouraged us to look at the future, and I may be mistaken, but at the Colonial High School meeting, we mentioned again that we couldn't look at future growth. So I'm a little puzzled.
Member Rocha, I will tell you that I'm 99.99% certain that you're mistaken, that Ms. Barrios, I believe, previously made it clear that we must focus primarily on traditional redistricting principles, and then after satisfying those, you can secondarily consider some other things. I'm going to stop now and ask Ms. Barrios, but I do recall that exchange with Ms. Simrod, and I do remember Ms. Barrios making multiple clarifying comments to be clear that it was traditional redistricting principles, and then after you've satisfied those, then you can consider others. But Ms. Barrios?
That is correct. It's also in the memo that was sent to the committee members on October 25th, 2021, where it says additional factors such as approved future growth are only permitted to be considered by the committee to the extent that they are race neutral, are permitted under applicable redistricting law, and do not in any way conflict with one of the above listed traditional redistricting principles. So again, that would make them secondary to the 5 redistricting principles that need to be considered first.
All right, we'll move forward. Mr. Callan?
Homer, I think that's a really good map. I like this one as well as District number 6.
Yes, sir.
Lot to like about it. There's a couple of things nip and tuck here I could suggest alternatively, but I think this is a good map. The only couple questions I got is number 1 over there by Lake, is it Hancock by 50, and you have a little finger that goes down below State Road 50. It looks like that. I'm just curious why that was there.
You have to point it out to me. I can't.
It's this piece over here towards the county line south of Lake Popka.
Oh, that's a mistake.
Okay, that's why I thought. And I had this. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was on Metro West. I think is it south of Popka Boulevard up there that hits Winter Garden Road?
It's a Popka Vineland, and it hits Old Winter Garden Road.
Yeah. And I had seen some maps, and I know in the past meeting there was some favorable comment about including that area that's east of a Popka Vineland Road. It's the back half of Metro West into District 6. And your map doesn't do that. The part that's behind the Turnpike Rest area, I think.
Yeah, I know exactly where you talk. That part of Metro West is currently in District 6.
No, there's a part that's a little bit to the west of that that's not. And I know my map, I included that into District 6 to pick up some population numbers.
I see the line you're talking about. I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah, okay. And then the other thing I want to concern is that I like what you did here. I like the way you extended District 6 to 441, incorporating the country club neighborhoods into the District 6. I think that's good. I know you've included the area around Lake Fairview and Maury Road in District 6. Was that intentional? I think you did that both on 6 and 16. Do you want to do both of those, or is that going to stay?
Say the last part again.
There's 2 neighborhoods you included in District 6. One's the country club area, which is basically John Young Parkway to 441 that goes north to Princeton.
Yes.
And then the other area is around Lake Fairview, that Maury Road area, and 441 you include in District 6. Did you intend to do that for both map 6 and 16, or is that something?
Yes, that was my intention, but that's also flexible.
Okay. Well, no, I like that. I think it's a good idea. Those are my own 2 comments I had. I like the map.
Just for everybody's edification, we're going to extend to 3 minutes for the discussion. So, Member Afan.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to announce right now that I'm incorporating part of the mayor's map into my modification I'm going to do this week. I'm going to put the part of District 6 that you incorporated. I think it's fine. It has met the whole of Metro West. And to be honest, it's more symbolic than anything else because Metro West is in the city. And for record, Metro West is divided among the city between District 6 and 7. So to put it all into District 6, at the end of the day, is run by the city. It's not even run by the county. The voters will vote for us, but that's not a big deal.
Member Afan, I just want to correct, Metro West is split between the city of Orlando and unincorporated Orange County, and it's also currently split between 1 and 6.
That's what I meant. I apologize. But it's currently, so in the map that the mayor did, we put all of Metro West in there. And I've heard both sides. I read a letter from a homeowners association claiming that they don't want to be in 6. And I also know of a person that I know and respect who told me she had no problem being in District 6. The other concern I have, I'm going to be very honest, is basically we still continue to divide Ocoee. We still now we have divided Winter Garden. I'm not sure why, and this is a question to you, why Titusville? I mean, it's only 473 people, and you go and make a little squill there to incorporate it. 475 people does not really make that much of a difference in a percentage, just to be blunt. Not sure why.
You mean Tildenville? Tildenville, right?
Tildenville, yeah.
Tildenville, okay. You said Kenansville.
Okay. Mispronounced. Hey, it's past 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Us senior citizens need a rest.
Well, a lot of the maps left Tildenville in District 1. I can do that, but the reason that it's there is that as I was drawing this map, I was trying to make the numbers balance out between District number 1 and District number 2. But because of the way the numbers are now, if I move Tildenville back into District number 1, we would still be balanced with our numbers because there's a negative for District 1. So based on what I see here and the discussion, I would probably move that back in. But there was another reason also. We want to keep the ethnic makeup of some of these districts pretty close to what they are currently, and that allowed me to do that if of course we make some other shifts with the Pine Hills line. But that was basically to help keep the ethnic mix as close to what it is now. But
okay.
It's a moving target. It could be changed. I know most of the maps left that in District 1, so I'm flexible on that as well.
Nothing further.
We're going to extend by 2 minutes so we can accommodate Member Whittington and Member Hodge. Then we'll conclude this discussion process.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Commissioner Hardage, Member Hardage, I like this map. I like it for a number of reasons, but I do like 6 better than I like this one. You mentioned in your presentation that it was not your intention to split Maitland.
That's correct.
How would you mitigate that if we were to move this map forward? And then secondarily, Fairview Shores is split into 3 districts. I have a concern with that. And then thirdly, just your 6 map has Eatonville in District 2, 16 splits Eatonville into 2 and 5. And there was some conversation before your arrival tonight as to what has been communicated with the leadership in Eatonville and where they would like to end up. And as I'm sitting here tonight, thinking that if anything, they should stay where they are for continuity of representation of the person that they have elected. So those questions, please.
Thank you. The Maitland question first. If this map, if the board decides to move this map forward, I would offer an amendment to bring all of Maitland into District number 5. That was my objective. That's what was on the original map. That's just a line error as I was drawing the map. On Fairview Shores, my intention is for that to be all one area, and I think staff has made some suggestions as to some lines that may have been missed when it was drawn. So there would be a motion to bring all of Fairview Shores into one district, and I believe that would be District, is it 3? No, it would be District number 5.
Maybe 5?
Yes, and on Eatonville, I've actually talked with people that, I can finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think that there's some benefits to splitting it, but that would be something that we could discuss as we try to get to a final map. But I've talked to people on
Someone
both
split in the
sides as
middle
well,
there.
including leadership.
Thank you.
Member Hodge.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I just wanted to make one quick response to Member Alphonse's comment. I would give greater deference to the letter from the Homeowners Association just because they are a collective representing a majority of the property owners. And I do appreciate anecdotal conversations, but I think that the organization asked us to keep Metro West in District 1, so that would be my greatest concern as a member.
Is there a motion regarding Proposal 16? We have a motion by Member Callen. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was that? Member Whittington?
Madam Chair, if I can get a clarification, would that include staff's recommendations?
Yeah, that would, Commissioner, do you want that motion to include Maitland the way it's been recommended in the other recommendations of staff?
Yes, I was just getting clarification. I would like to add a motion to bring Maitland back to the original district line, which would put it all in District Number 5. The second motion would be to correct the lines to bring all of Fairview Shores back into District 5. And the third motion would be to adjust the western boundary of Metro West between District 2 and District 6 back to, what is that, Highway 50?
It's a turnpike there.
The turnpike. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Just those two motions. To bring Maitland and Fairview Shores back in.
Can we get well, first of all, we have a motion on the table. We're going to have to get Member Callen to determine whether or not he's willing to amend his motion. But you said Fairview Shores is currently split between Districts 2 and 5.
Correct.
I'm about to correct that part. I recommend my motion to take Fairview Shores, depicted here on the map, and move the boundary, move everything west, everything east of 441 OBT into District 5. And that takes the area where the lake is, Lake Fairview is, and moves to District 5. Maury Road, that area.
Do we have adequate specificity for that?
That's a census tract as well.
The entirety of?
Everything west of 441 is several different census tracts. I've gone back and forth with that through the map-making process.
So Fairview Shores would remain in 2 districts, Madam Chair?
That's my point. Okay. We're still talking about it being in 2 districts, not all in 5, because the comment was made all in 5. Right.
No, the area shown in the District 6 that is east of 441, make that District 5. East of 441 and south of Lee Road.
Commissioner Hardage, I want to make sure you all are.
I do not quite understand what he's saying. Yeah. It's not that I'm opposed to it, I just don't understand. Can staff point to it on the map? You have a pointer?
Lee Road intersects 441 there, Lake Fairview, and higher. Yeah, Is that as best you can do? So in my motion, I would move approval of Commissioner Hartage's map 16 with the change he suggested earlier on Maitland, and then also moving the boundary of District 6 from what appears to be Edgewater Drive back over to the west to 441 to line up with the boundary to the south.
I would accept that motion.
That's my motion.
So we have an original, Member Whittington was the original seconder of the motion, okay? So we have an amendment, you now have an amendment to your motion that you are now making the amendment. Member Whittington, are you seconding?
Yes.
Okay. And can we have the record clarified as to what exactly our current amendment to our motion is?
To include all of Maitland into District 5.
Correct.
And to move the boundary of District 6 by Lake Fairview from Edgewater Drive over west to 441 OBT.
Correct.
And that's between Lee Road and Maury Road.
Madam Chair, can I call the question on the amendment?
You have a second? Yes, feel free. Who's the second? So you have a motion by co-chair, second by member Arias. If you will go ahead, Madam Clerk, and do a roll call on the amendment to Proposal 16.
Arias?
Yes.
Avant? No. Callan?
Yes.
Connor? Evans?
No.
Hartage?
Yes.
Hodge? Hoover? Was that a yes? I'm sorry. Thank you. Kilsheimer? Mellon? Perez? Thank you. Rocha?
Yes.
Semrod? Whittington?
Yes.
The motion passes on the amendment.
So now we can call the question on the motion for Proposal 16 as amended.
Arias?
Sure.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Beg your pardon.
He's asking a question. We're not jumping into the roll call. I apologize.
Yeah, we just couldn't hear over here at all. Thank you.
Sorry.
So when we were talking, you said you were amenable to moving the northern boundary from 3 to, from wherever you had it to the original line.
Yes, that would have to be.
To Colonial Drive, that was it, from 408 to Colonial Drive.
That would have to be an amendment to his motion, I believe, but I agree to that, yes.
Well, I would like to propose that, if Mr. Callan is amenable to that.
Well, I'll second that amendment.
Yes, I am.
So we have a second amendment that has been motioned by Member Arias and seconded by Member Hodge. Can we get a clarity for the record on exactly what the amendment is again? Will you repeat it?
Yes.
Sorry.
I wanted to extend the northern boundary from 408, which is where I think he has it, to the original boundary of Colonial, so that we can include, if I'm not mistaken, Azalea.
Correct. That would be correct.
And the executive airport.
Yeah.
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 Is there any further discussion regarding this second amendment to Proposal 16, which would be to move the boundary of District 3 between Districts 3 and 5 north to reestablish their current boundaries between, you said, around Azalea and Orlando Executive Airport? I guess that's take it along 50. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll on this amendment?
Arias? Avant? Callan? Connor? Evans?
No.
Hartage?
Yes.
Hodge? Hoover? Kilsheimer? Mellon? Perez? Rocha?
Yes.
Semrod? Whittington?
Yes.
Your motion passes on the second amendment.
So now we have Proposal 16 as amended by Amendment 1 and Amendment 2 ready.
Madam Co-Chair, there is a staff issue which I think we should hear. We did.
Perhaps a third amendment to address staff's proposed changes to the plan as well, regarding specifically Attachment 5, which moves a 10 population census block in Orlando into District 3 from District 6, and Attachments 6 through 12, which in addition to attachment 3 shows 0 population, roadway, and natural boundary census blocks that could be adjusted to make the boundaries appear less irregular.
Commissioner Hardage?
And that was actually my original intent, was to bring in all of the staff recommendations. Basically, they are correcting lines that my skills wouldn't allow me to capture.
Fair enough. No, I thought that was going to be our original proposal, so
We just want to make sure that it's in the records correctly.
Okay.
For the clerk.
I don't know why your mic's, there you go.
The question that I asked when we initially went to the motions was whether it included staff's recommendations, and I thought it was yes.
I thought so, it was yes
Okay.
as well.
I think we've already disposed of that. However, I guess we need to.
That's my understanding as well.
Well, before we do that, I want to make sure that the clerk agrees with us, because if that is not the original motion, then
That was my recollection, that you were accepting it with staff's recommendations, and then you have the 2 other amendments on the boundaries.
Okay, so now we are prepared to call the question on Proposal 16 as amended by Amendment 1 and 2.
All right, we're going back to the main motion, and my records show that the main motion was by Callan and Whittington.
Agreed.
Thank you. Arias? Affont? Pardon me?
Yes.
Callan? Yes. Connor? Evans?
No.
Hardage?
Yes.
Hodge? Yes. Hoover? Yes. Kilsheimer? Mellon? Yes. Perez? Rocha?
No.
Semrod? And Whittington?
Yes.
Your motion passes on the main motion.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Commissioner Hardage.
Wonderful.
So we have come to the conclusion of our discussion agenda for tonight. We will meet again this week on December 9th, here at Barnett Park. We will go through our winnowing process and really look forward to you all. As a reminder, if you have not already submitted your form with any map proposal, regardless of whether or not it's still in consideration, please work with staff to get that submitted so that our records are complete for each proposal. Also remember that our winnowing process will be the agenda on December 9th, where we will go through that process to address the remaining maps in consideration. Before I open it up to other members, Co-Chair Perez, is there something you would like to share with the group?
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. This has been a good process, and I'm excited about getting to the winnowing stage, but if you please make sure we look at the memo that we sent out Thursday night. I think is going to be a long meeting. Camille and I have set as a goal to try to be done a week from today. The meeting on the 16th is just in case we can't get our work done. Even if you look online, that is a TBD meeting. It's noticed so that we can hold it, but I think if we prepare, we can get all of our work done, winnowing down to maybe 3 or 4 on Thursday of this week, and then Monday finishing our process, so that we can make a recommendation, hopefully of one map, to the Commission. I think that was our stated goal from the very beginning. So I'm going to ask a couple of things. Number one, if you've got maps that we have advanced, particularly if we did it early on before we've heard all the comments from everyone and we know what's going to work and what's not going to work, if you don't think you're going to have support, save us the time of having a conversation about each map and voting it down. And if you are prepared to withdraw it, if there's another map you support more, please do so we can expedite our process. Number two, we've been incredibly collegial this whole time, and now we're going to start moving to remove people's maps that we had advanced. So I want to ask that we remain collegial the whole time as we go through this process. I think there's a couple of maps, at least from my perspective, that are floating to the surface and others that we advanced for ultimate conversation. So if we can just maintain collegiality as we go through this process, which we've been wonderful so far, that would be extraordinary. But again, our goal is to try on Thursday to winnow ourselves down to about 3 maps for us to consider on Monday, on next Monday, so that we can then be done. That is our stated goal. Let's be hopeful. Finally, will somebody reach out to Eatonville and find out what they want, please? Because it's a very important community and it matters, and we've heard 3 versions from 3 people who I respect highly. So maybe somebody could reach out and find out what it is that they want so that we get an answer, and maybe it's multiple answers, but I would like to at least, if it's possible, accommodate their desires before we take it to the county commission, okay, in fairness. Other than that, please be prepared for a long meeting Thursday. I suspect we should probably bring snacks. Feel free to do that, and I would anticipate, because I'll be on the chair then, taking a break after about 2 hours so that we can enjoy those snacks or do something, because I got a feeling that may be our longest meeting of this cycle. So other than that, Madam Co-Chair, it's back to you.
Thank you. I have a request to speak from Member Hoover and Member Hodge.
Very briefly, since we were last together, legislation has been introduced in Tallahassee that would prohibit county and city, and I believe school board redistricting from considering incumbent residency. It's too early to know whether it will go anywhere once session begins on January 11th or how it would be applied if it passes, but it would apply to previously enacted redistricting plans. So in the interest of brevity, I'd like to send a copy of the bill to staff, and if anybody's interested in reading it, they can reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Hoover. Member Hodge?
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I just wanted to get clarification for how we want to move forward, aside from calling all of the commissioners and the mayor of Eatonville tomorrow. If, for example, we have map 16 that we want to make amendments to, is it the preference of the chairs in the committee and staff that we go pull that map up, make our suggested changes, submit that so that staff can put that together and come forward? Or how do we want to handle, like we were talking about, moving part of Avalon into District 5? Well, we're not going to do that blind. And so what I would like to do is go home tonight, make those changes, and have something available that we can look at from an analysis perspective so that we're not voting blindly on maps. And my question is, how are we going to go about that, since we're not submitting new maps, but we're trying to make amendments on existing proposals? Thank you.
Yeah, I would say, and I know Council was shaking her head over there, so I'll certainly defer to her in a moment, but my answer would be make your map, bring it, and know what the numbers are on the changes, but don't circulate it amongst each other, because that then becomes a sunshine violation.
Yes, unfortunately, because of the very, very short time period between now and our next meeting, staff will not be able to make a lot of the amendments or get any of this information out to the public as early as we normally are. We will be getting 16A, 17A, and 20A as amended out as soon as possible. But any of those other changes that you would like to make, I think would be best when we're doing the adjustments of lines live. If you know where the lines are, what census blocks are available, it'd be really helpful for staff when they're doing that, and for you to have the numbers as well.
But the key would be to come with those census lines, knowing which blocks you want to move and where. But good question, Wes. Jimmy.
Member Affont?
May I make a suggestion? You're right, Hutch, but I think something else we might want to come when we come here on Thursday. Where are you willing to make your concessions? You might want to start by saying, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that, I could move this here, I can move this there, so people will know. Like I already announced, I'm going to take away the mayor's thing for District 6 and put it in my map. So maybe things like that we could say, this is what we're willing to do, so people will know up front what you're willing to, to concede or change or whatever word you want to use, okay? That's just an idea.
And I just want to be clear, the process that I'm planning on going through Thursday will be the following. Number one, I'm going to ask any of you who have maps that have advanced if there are any that you will withdraw. If you know that something's better, things have changed, it's been 8 weeks, so perhaps you've changed your mind on your map or you don't think based on the conversations we've had. After that, I will open the floor for motions to withdraw other people's maps. So if you haven't withdrawn it, so please be prepared if there are other maps that you don't think you can support or you don't think the rest of us will support. We're going to try to do it this way instead of in the past they've said, okay, everybody rank them again, and then rank them again, because I think that leaves good ideas on the floor. So I think this is a little more difficult and maybe a clunkier process, but I think it will get us a better result. So when you're here next Thursday, just be prepared. Number one, withdraw yours if you can, if it's something that isn't going to move forward in your estimation. Number two, be prepared to make a motion to withdraw other maps that you don't support. And as Jimmy has pointed out, if you are a map preparer, please be prepared as to where you are flexible in your changes going forward. I do not promise it's not going to be a clunky process, because it may be. But we've worked together exceedingly well over the last bunch of weeks, and I'm sure we can get through it and get these things winnowed and narrowed down. Thank you, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you, Co-Chair Perez. Member Arias.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Just a question for staff, so that for the Thursday meeting, we will have perhaps, if I'm not mistaken, the benefit of an agenda with the maps that we've moved forward, so that between now and then, I guess it's simpler for me to follow because there are so many maps, I think, that we move forward. So I'm asking, I guess, if we'll get an agenda with that list of maps.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, you will have an agenda, hopefully by Wednesday morning at the latest, or possibly tomorrow, because we know which maps to move forward. In regards to getting the packets to you, there have been some revisions on the ones for tonight, but again, everything is on the webpage for your viewing pleasure.
Member Rocha, did you want to speak? No? I thought I saw you pointing. I have no other requests to speak. Is there anyone else who wants to share anything for the good of the order? Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.